Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Welcome back to the channel. So just checking in for today. We're going to see what I think may be going on with our current solar flash situation. And we do have some solar activity that apparently is coming towards us, might even bring some northern lights, but also we have some issues with Mars in Cancer, which is causing some challenges, myself included, surrendering to the energy that's coming in. So welcome to the channel. All right, so it's been, I can't speak for you, but for me it's been quite a roller coaster ride recently. And so we do have Mars in the sign of Cancer. Again, this is Vedic astrology, not Western astrology. This is the sidereal zodiac. The sidereal zodiac is the actual placement of the stars and the planets in the sky. Tropical zodiac, Western, is off by 24 degrees. I'm sorry if you're a fan of Western astrology, but it's just simply inaccurate. In Vedic astrology right now, we have Mars is in Cancer. And so what that means is that your desire to really go forward, to take action, to accomplish things can be frustrated. You might find yourself feeling sort of stuck in the mud. The sign of Cancer is water and Mars is fire. So you put fire in water, what happens to the earth? It turns into mud. So you might feel like you're kind of stuck in the mud, and you might feel a little depressed, not so much air in your sails. And so at the same time, speaking for myself, and I think I'm not alone here, there's a lot of solar energy that is still hitting us. Now, my experience of this solar wave energy is that my first unconscious reaction is to feel anxiety. And so you might have this feeling. You might have this feeling like you're anxious for some reason. But on top of that, depending of course on your chart, my chart, Mars is in a challenging spot right now. So I'm experiencing everything that I just said, feeling like I'm stuck in the mud. In fact, I just got off the phone with a visa lawyer who basically shot down any possibility of me getting one, and that's got me disillusioned and sad and depressed because, where the hell am I going to go? I got no place that I really want to go in the world. So you may have that experience as well. Depending on your chart, you might have a different experience. But I wanted to talk about what to do when this solar energy hits you and you have, you want to call it ascension symptoms or whatever, whatever your experience is. But the first main symptom is, as I said, a feeling of anxiety. You might start to worry about things. You might find yourself even looking for things to worry about. Because this is what we do. In case you don't know this is very important stuff. The way that human beings in our society function is that, we're trained just by the third dimension. We're trained to believe that nothing, that we're isolated and that we're not connected to anything, that we live in this empty, cruel, unloving universe, which is really nothing more than an illusion. And then on top of that, we are trained by our family and our society to feel like these tiny little beings that don't have any choice. And so we have to do things in order to get people's love and approval. And so you're trained already to feel powerless. And so what happens when we get hit with this higher vibrational solar energy is that our defense mechanisms kick in, and our defense strategy as three-dimensional humans is to simultaneously devalue ourselves and oftentimes to devalue other people or blame other people. And we do that because we're really looking for some intellectual justification for the feelings that we have and we don't have any control over. And so lots of times, most of the time, people have feelings and they don't really know where they're coming from. And so they look for reasons. And since we are designed to devalue ourselves, it's the first reaction that human beings have is shame. They feel bad. They feel unworthy. And they feel unloved. And so they either go into a state of, depression and self devaluation, or they project that out onto the world with feelings of victim mentality or blaming or rage. You rage on who's doing what. By the way, this is what's happening. Those of you who love getting into political issues, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of stuff out there to get bent out of shape about. I personally, what goes on, I've given up. It doesn't, it's like, once you know somebody's crazy, you don't get bent out of shape for them acting crazy. And, once you understand that politics, governments are, shams, they're not real, that just in order to be a politician, you're going to have to be corrupt or inept or incapable, because, if you aren't corrupt, you're not going to be able to get anything done. And even if you do get anything done, there's a deep state. There's a government beneath the government beneath the government. And so to get bent out of shape over what happens up here on the surface when you've got 5 layers of corrupt government underneath it that are really making all the decisions, to get bent out of shape over politics is just stupid. It's just a waste of energy. But the reason why you do it, in case you're one of those people, the reason why you love to get into, and it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican or, left or right, if you get bent out of shape over politics, it's because of your feelings of powerlessness. And it is your projection. You take your shame and your anger and your victim mentality and your guilt, and you look for something outside of you so you can justify the rage and the feeling of powerlessness within you. But the reality is, if you follow what your soul wants to do, the universe always finds a way to give you what you want. Now, I'm talking to myself as well as the rest of you. As I said, I was already feeling like I'm kind of stuck in the mud, and then I get another phone call from a second lawyer saying, that there's really nothing we can do. So that puts me in a, I don't know what to do. If I were rich, if I were filthy rich, then I could afford to, fly in and out of the country, a couple times a year. Choose certain places to live. As of yet, that hasn't happened yet. So I'm having a real human moment about all this. But I know, I've proven to myself that even though I'm having uncomfortable feelings, this is, again, I'm showing you guys how to do this. This isn't about pretending you don't have feelings. This isn't about pretending that you're not angry or you're not sad or that you don't have trauma. Most people, by the way, I'm putting myself in a slightly different category. I've worked through a lot of my trauma, so I'm a lot better, I'm not perfect, but I'm a lot better at knowing what's happening right now in the moment and having a feeling about what's happening right now. But I'm here to tell you that the majority of people, including the majority of people on this channel, especially if you're not doing anything, you're just watching videos and you're not working with a teacher or a counselor or doing any of the stuff that I recommend, if you're not doing that, then odds are most of you already have this backlog of trauma that defines how you feel, even if everything goes your way. You already have all these painful feelings that you've got stuffed down, and so you, by habit, will feel upset, unhappy, sad, anxious. And then you have things like politics, which is one of the reasons it's there. One of the reasons the nightly news is there is to distract you and give you something to project all of your negativity onto and create more of it so that you don't actually look at yourself. Because, I learned this a long time ago as an actor, when I was, a Hollywood actor, is that you're a lot more likely to get roles in TV and film if you look like, these kinds of people you see on advertisements. Because as it turns out, especially television isn't about art, it's about advertisement. So they create shows that make you think superficially so that they can then advertise superficial things, that you'll buy them. And if you're somebody that actually creates a lot of deep emotion and self-awareness, that's not good for business. So that's why, people I knew, there were people that were the best actors I'd ever seen, and they couldn't land anything. And the reason for it, among other whatever, winds of luck were flying around them, is that they weren't good for business. That's why you have very attractive people. You don't see actors and actresses who are really unattractive unless they happen to be comedic character actors. The majority of them, especially when you watch movies that are made about people's lives, just people who look ordinary. But when they put it on the movie screen, it's just the hottest looking girl and the hottest looking guy, and it's, that's why you watch. You watch for that reason. It's advertisement. In any case, what I want to recommend, I want you to be aware of this. This is a good time. The thing for me to do right now is just do nothing. Just to continue, doing my daily routine, doing my meditations, going out, getting as much surfing in as I can while I still can, and enjoying where I'm at and being in the moment, and knowing, especially with Mars and Cancer, pushing against the tide is not going to work in my favor. So just relax and enjoy where I'm at, work on my feelings, meditate, release, relax, and wait for another day to pick up my shield and my sword and go out and go to battle. But what I want you to be able to do, if you can, and this is a good time to do it, is to try and listen to what it is you're really upset about, and see if you can get past the initial, forgive me for saying so, bullshit emotional knee-jerk reaction to life, and look at what's underneath and realize that whatever you think you're mad about probably isn't what's bothering you. Probably what's bothering you is that you're still waiting around for mommy and daddy to love you. You're still waiting around for your big break in life. You're still waiting around for something that didn't happen a long time ago. You're still operating from your being programmed to operate from shame, to operate from feeling undeserving, unloved, unlovable. This is not only the 3D training, but it's also what our society does. And the whole idea of this solar flash event is that this will come to an end. So I chose this picture for a reason. I really like that meditator, and you can see his chakras lighting up. And I really like that because this idea of the sunlight hitting him and shining through him and creating these projections of his chakras. So I want to remind you, I'm switching gears here now. I want to remind you the awareness that I had about human beings, the planets, and the chakras. And hopefully I still have it here somewhere. Do I have it? Yeah. So here we have, you see that little character there, and the chakra is all lighting up, and you see the planets. The planets associated with each of the chakras. And I want you to not look at chakras the way we normally do. Chakras are not things that you open. I know people want to open their third eye or open their heart and all that kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with meditating on that and all of that, but that's not really what our chakras are there for. Our chakras are there to help us align ourselves to our soul. Kundalini, which is what stimulates the chakras, is a higher dimensional energy that gives us multi-dimensional consciousness. And the chakras are associated with the planets. And each of the planets has an association with a certain aspect of your personality. Jupiter is your spirituality. Mercury is your intellect and your communication. Saturn is your sense of justice and your discipline. Moon is your emotions and your intuition. Sun is your ego, your will, and it is also your soul. Venus is your creativity and your love and your connection to others. And Mars is your self-defense as well as your energy and your drive. And so these chakras don't just, they also associate with the planets. No, the chakras are ways that you guide and empower yourself on this path through life. And the planets are actually the projections of your chakras. So that's why I like this, because the sun is shining through this guy. And as the sun, which is also a symbol of the light of the soul, as the light of the soul shines through you, that energy aligns with your Kundalini and then shines out through these portals which create the planets. So I want you to think of the planets as actual three-dimensional projections coming from your chakras. And we flip the whole thing upside down. We're not these tiny little beings in this empty universe. We are souls that have chosen to put on these three-dimensional meat suits, which also have these really cool things called chakras. And we can send our soul energy, and as it shines out through these chakras, which then go out into the three-dimensional screen that is projected onto it. And that's why the planets appear. That's also why the zodiac stars appear. The zodiac that surrounds us, all of the stars of the zodiac, as well as our solar system, is actually one unit. And it is a creation of human consciousness, which is why, if you look at the Mandela effect, why in 2012, why the Earth, when it moved 73,000 light years across the galaxy from the Sagittarius arm to the Orion arm, why all of the solar system planet, except for the sun, and all of the zodiac planets came with us. Because it's a unit. And the unit of all of those stars, all of those constellations, all of the planets, they are an outward projection of you. So by working with chakras, you work with planets, and the planets then, influence your ability to align yourself. So if I back up and I apply this to myself, right now what's happening, at least in part, is on the one hand, I have all of this energy in Aries, which happens to be my 9th house, my house of spirituality. And that is shining on my Aruda, which is my projection to the world. That is really getting me motivated to really dig deep into this spiritual shift that is happening, which is why I'm working so intensely with it, why I'm meditating, doing the interdimensional meditation sometimes for hours a day, because I'm really pushing that. And at the same time, Mars is in Cancer, and I'm feeling blocked, and I'm feeling frustrated and disillusioned. And so I can either choose to react out of my 3-dimensional programming, which tells me to feel like a victim, to get angry, to feel sorry for myself, things like that, or to take that into a more spiritual context for me, which is to relax into it, breathe into it, meditate into it, relax and surrender, and see where that takes me. And just by saying that, it puts me into a more powerful state. So the last thing I'm going to say before we open it up for questions, if there are any, is that everybody should be doing things like the Hool breath, especially if you feel anxiety. If when the solar energies tick up a couple of notches, you start to feel that anxiety, then you should be doing the Hool breath, because you need to be breathing into that. Breathing and relaxing and meditating into that. Don't go into your head. Don't go into trying to figure it out. Don't obsess over it. Learn what, I've done everything I can, in terms of my issues. I've done everything I'm capable of doing. There's nothing more that I can do at the moment. So thinking about it and worrying about it accomplishes me nothing except making me upset. So instead, as I said, I'm going to breathe into it. I'm going to relax, and I'm going to focus on the right here and the right now, on what I do have and what does work for me and what I can enjoy. And so I recommend that you do things like the Hool breath, the Huar breath, of course the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, if you're doing the free practices like the Heaven Earth meditation, do something to get you connected to the flow of the energy that allows you to just simply surrender to the experience, surrender to the process, and have all of your feelings. Just don't act on any of the negative ones that are coming out of your feelings of shame and anger and victim mentality and whatever else. All right, so that's it. I can't think of anything else at the moment. I guess I did want to say one other thing. Another interesting thing, which will give you, perhaps as it does me, more validity to this understanding that we're talking about here, which is that the planets are simply the projection from your chakras, not the other way around. The chakras aren't aligned with the planets, it's the other way around. The planets are the projection of your chakras. And that is that something really interesting is happening in the scientific field as a result of this new telescope out in space that they just launched, which is, looks deeper into the universe than ever before. And what they're finding out, they were expecting to be able to find out information about the Big Bang, because the further you look out in space, the farther back in time you're seeing. The light that's hitting you from furthest away is from further away in time. And so when they get all the way back to just after the Big Bang, they're not seeing anything that they expected to see. I expected to see, just kind of like this haze, this soup of microwave energy and nothing else. And what they're finding is that there are fully developed galaxies, which shouldn't be possible. And then things like beyond that, just emptiness, which shouldn't be possible either. And so it means that the Big Bang is, as a theory, is falling apart. But what it is starting to make people think in the scientific community is that we do live inside of a black hole. But instead of thinking about living inside of a black hole, I want to help, because a lot of people miss this. We're not actually living inside of a black hole. We are living on the skin of a bubble. It's a three-dimensional skin. So if you can imagine that, you probably can't, I can't. You can imagine a two-dimensional, like the peel of an orange. Two-dimensional, imagine living on top of that. If you're small enough, as we are on this earth, you just keep walking in one direction, everything looks flat, when in actuality it's curved. And so instead of a two-dimensional skin, it's a three-dimensional skin. How that looks, I don't know, because we'd have to be in the fifth dimension to be able to see it. Like we can look at the two-dimensional skin of the skin of an orange. But that's where we're at. We're in a three-dimensional skin on top of a bubble. And so it's finite. And we can't see out. Other dimensions can see in, but we can't hear or interact with anything outside of our little bubble. It's a great word, it's a bubble. And we live in this ego bubble. We live in this bubble of feeling isolated and feeling trapped in the matrix and feeling alone. And all of that comes from the fact that we are simply identified with the projection that's coming from a higher dimension that's projected onto this three-dimensional skin on top of a bubble. I hope that makes sense to you. But meditate on that. I do, because it helps me realize when I'm doing my interdimensional meditations, the crazy experiences that I get, it makes sense. Where I'm at too is I'm in two worlds right now, which makes it frustrating. In my meditations, I go into this amazing world where I can do just about anything. I can go anywhere, and I have all of this power and all of this freedom. And then when I come back into my 3D body, I'm stuck in this two-dimensional delusion of not having any power and not being able to accomplish anything. And it becomes very difficult because it's easy to doubt the interdimensional meditation experiences that I have. It's very easy to doubt that because this reality is so limited in comparison to those realities. And so it takes a lot of meditative patience and concentration to be in a place where I accept everything in the third dimension as it is, and I also accept what's happening in the higher dimensions and seeing where the third dimension do I need to accept to be real. Can I shift? Can I change all of this? These are all the kinds of things that are going through my mind right now. All right, I'm happy to open it up for questions if there are any. If you have a question, please write the word question in all caps. Then write your question in normal script. If you have a feeling, please write the word feeling. Bear in mind, a feeling means that you have a feeling. So if you write the word feeling and there's no emotion, and you start talking about, I took my dog on a walk and it smelled nice. Well, you haven't told me any feelings. I want to know you're sad, you're angry, you're happy, you're excited, you're depressed, you're whatever it is. Make sure that you are able to verbalize, and in this case, write out your emotions. That's what a feeling is. We tend to not know what feelings are. All right, so I don't see... Wow, this is weird. People are saying live chat is missing. That's weird. Let me see what's going on here. How is the live chat missing? I'm going to hit what do you call it? I'm going to reset it. So, okay. So nobody can hear me. Nobody can chat. That doesn't make any sense. I didn't disable the chat. No, I sure didn't. All right, I guess we're not going to have any questions. I mean, if you guys can't write in here. I'm going to write here, can you write? I'm glad you can hear me. Oh, here we go. All right, Rami, question. Rami, thanks for trying to follow my directions. Question should be in all caps, just to let you know. The word question. And one of the main things I do is I ask people to ask me questions about what I've been talking about. So I didn't mention the phrase Indo-European once today. But you're asking me about a race of people, and I've never heard of them before, and you want to know if they're part of the Indo-European race. What does that have to do with anything? So anyway, short answer is I don't have an answer to your question because at the moment I don't know, and more importantly, I don't care. If you have a question about what we've been talking about, or something that you know that I teach, I'd be more than happy to address that question. So I'll give you guys some time to write questions if you have any. Before we do that, I'll do a little bit of business so that I can keep the lights on. So, as you know, this channel is not about you listening to me. Again, I am actually quite flabbergasted at the large percentage of people who just come onto this channel on a regular basis and don't do any of the practices. I'm flabbergasted by that. I can tell you from personal experience, if you don't do the work, pretty much nothing's going to change for you. And you're not going to get any of the things that I talk about we can get on a spiritual level. So that is why we have the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. If you subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, you not only get access to the most powerful energy practice, which I guarantee will shift you on multiple levels, but you also get access to the Manifestation Mastery course, where you learn how to use your intentions to create the reality that you want. You will also have access to the Interdimensional Meditation course, specifically the tips and tricks that I use to get more out of that. But to answer the question, some of these superficial questions we're getting, you will also get access to the Mastery of Shamanism course. So that course in and of itself is worth far more than what it costs just to subscribe for the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. By the way, you can unsubscribe whenever you want. So I recommend that to you. It's again, I'm flabbergasted at people that don't want to do work to empower themselves. Why you would listen to me and not do the work, I don't get it. I mean, you must be bored. In any case, there's that. We've got courses.thunderwizard.com, and the other one is my books. I mean, somebody gave me an excuse about why they can't buy a $10 book. It was just, I couldn't believe I was reading this really elaborate. You don't need to give me excuses. You don't have to do anything, but the excuse itself was just mind-boggling. That you're proud of the fact that you're incapable and unwilling to put the time and effort to do things you want to do. That's, by the way, if you're the person, you know who you are, you left that justification for why you didn't get what you want. That's what I read. What I read in that is I have resistance in taking action towards getting what I want because I don't feel worth it. And so instead of just admitting that, I'm going to come up with this really long worded excuse for why I don't take action to do the things and have the things that I want. And this is not something to be proud of. It's okay that you're aware of that, but again, it's, I'm really addressing today not justifying your hour, because I'm human too, not justifying our self-destructive action, our self-limiting actions. And we're either in a state of expansion or we're in a state of contraction. And this whole experience that we're having with the solar flash is a universal expansion of awareness. And if you can, every time you take actions to do the things that you want, to have the things that you want, and you go against your self-limiting instincts, which you use as justifications for why you're not where you want and why you don't have what you want, why you don't do what you want. Instead of justifying that, which is a way of contracting and staying in your limitation, taking contrary action, taking action against the flow of, I'm not going to say laziness, because it actually takes a lot of energy to act negatively towards yourself. But to go against that flow, which makes you want to contract into yourself. This is where we're going. Hopefully, if I'm doing my job, I'm teaching you to do that. So anyway, I gave you guys some time to write some questions. Scully the Hypno Skull question: can you switch the Hul breath with the Hua breath when doing the Awakening the Immortals routine? You can do whatever you want. It's a good idea to stick with the instructions. Just to let you know, and it doesn't necessarily mean what you've asked will or won't happen or won't do something for you, but when somebody is new to a practice and they want to switch it up, that actually is what I just got through talking about. That's your resistance kicking in. Wanting to change a mantra every, couple of days or every couple of weeks. There are people that have done my practices for years, and in the beginning, a lot of them will want to ask me all kinds of hyper-intellectual questions. Can I face this way? Can I do this posture instead? Can I change that with this? Can I change the order around? And all that's happening is that the static that's coming up in their brain as they're trying to switch things is you're resisting where the practice and the energy is taking you. So if you're already, Scully the Hypno Skull, trying to change the practice as I've given it to you without even getting to a place of mastering it, then that is your resistance kicking in. Having said that, once you master something, then you can experiment with it all you want. Now, usually what happens when you master something is you realize why things have been given with certain instructions, and you don't need to change anything because you appreciate what it's designed to do. So to answer your question, you can do whatever you want. My suggestion is to wait until you've mastered this. You've taken that practice as far as it can possibly go. You've had whatever transformation it's given to you. You've entered in a state of self-mastery. And then if you still want to play games with it, then you can. You have to kind of trust let me explain to you why. One of the reasons why teachers, specifically energy teachers, want you to follow instructions. Because the practices that come from a teacher, if you see that person as a teacher, that they're a valid source of this information, then the assumption is that they've gotten their information from the ancestors, higher dimensional beings. They are a channel. And or they are a recipient of a tradition from a teacher that they learned from, an earthly teacher who also got it from higher dimensional beings. if you look at it from that perspective, your attitude towards it is going to be one of reverence and one of, let me see if I can master and unlock what is in front of me. So when you want to change something and you haven't mastered it, guess who you're resisting? You're not just resisting the practice. You're not just resisting yourself. You're not just resisting the person who gave it to you. But you're resisting the energies that channeled the energy to Earth to begin with. This is why, if you go to China, at least back in the day, if you were to go to China and if you walked into some kung fu master or some meditation teacher's studio and they gave you a practice, and if you asked if you could change it, they would say, "Thank you, I'm the wrong teacher for you," and they would kick you out. And now you know the reason why. Now, instead of looking at them as being these stuffy old men who can't tolerate people's freedom, the teacher has to ask, can I teach this person? And if the answer is, I can't teach them, then they get rid of them. So asking me to change a specific practice that I've made pretty clear is coming from higher dimensional sources. If you were walking into a traditional class, I would say, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong teacher for you. Thanks for coming by. Okay? So my suggestion is to stick with the instructions and try and unlock what's in it. Rami, question. Rami, I don't know you. I don't know how long you've been on the channel. I don't know how old you are. I'm finding out sometimes a lot of young people, like 12 and 15 and 16, come on the channel. And so when I've gotten frustrated in the past because people are asking these really superficial, they're so distracted, I can tell. I get offended by that. And then I realize they're just little kids. They don't know any better. And I kind of have this feeling about your questions. Is the whole universe a three-dimension? Is the whole universe a three-dimensional? I don't know what you mean. I don't know if you know what you mean by the whole universe. I don't know if you know what that means. I don't know what your question means. We live in a three-dimensional holographic projection that sits on top of other dimensions. Does that answer your question? All right, nothing else. Okay, that's it. So thanks for showing up, guys. I hope this was helpful for you. This is just me showing up. I didn't really want to do anything today, but this is me showing up and doing what I can to stay in positive flow, taking positive action towards my reality, and to share with you some of the thoughts that I have. So again, one of the ways that I teach is I don't try and pretend to be something I'm not. I think it's important that my students see that I'm as human as they are. And I'm having a human day. It's not one of my favorite days in the past few weeks. But I show up and I take action and I still do the things that I need to, putting energy towards my own empowerment and following my soul, and that includes sharing information with you guys. So that's what I did. All right, that's it for me today, guys. Thanks for showing up. I wish you all the best. If I've done or said anything that's hurt anybody's feelings or offended, you know that I'm coming from a place of trying to be helpful to the best of my ability. So tomorrow is another day, and I recommend that everybody, if you're having similar feelings as me, you can feel the energy and you're feeling the anxiety, is to do the Hool breath, do the Awakening the Immortals, do some kind of practice that puts you in a state of relaxing into the energy and letting the energy do its work, whatever it is. That's it, guys. Wish you all the best. I shall see you all next time.